tomorrow for session 1.
Okay, cool. So do you have any problems from that material that you'd like to go over that you can maybe verbalize? Most of that is algebra, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not like too hard. It's just that he like gives us very little time to do the tests.
Okay.
So I don't always get like things done in
So
time.
that's right. That's what your mom said is that you felt like you understood the material perfectly, but you didn't have enough time to do it on the tests.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem with the ANSAC is he does make it tough. Well, I only have one solution to that. And that solution is to know it like the back of your hand, to know it so good that you can answer a question in 30 seconds that normally would have taken you a minute to answer. Okay? And the only way to do that is practice. In other words, I hate to say it, but it's just getting so good at this material that you don't have to think about it as long. So do you have a problem that you can give me that we can go over? Even if you understand it pretty good, pick a difficult problem if you like, and we'll have a look at it. Maybe I can give you some tips on how to do it a little bit faster.
It says construct an angle on the ray below that has measure 1/2 of angle A plus angle R.
So I'm guessing that that's A, and that's R. You're talking about a linear pair.
Yeah.
And what's the relation? A is what? Equal to 1/2 R?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an equation. What do you know about R plus A?
A equal 180.
Exactly. The magic number in geometry. If there is a magic number in geometry, it's 180. It's what two linear angles always add up to. In other words, if two angles are supplementary, they add up to 180. It's also what the sum of the angles of any triangle are, is 180. So you're constantly having to work with that number 180. That's why I call it the magic number. Now, if I know that R plus A equals 180 and A equals 1/2 R, how can I solve for one of them?
You could do like 1/2
Substitute.
for R.
Start with R. What's A equal to?
1/2 of R.
So I'm going to substitute that for A. Now if I can solve for R, I'll have the problem solved.
Okay.
How do I solve for R?
You add more terms.
Okay, what's R plus 1/2 R?
2.5 R.
Well, it's actually 1.5. In other words,
Oh
that's
yeah.
1R and that's 1/2 R. So
Yeah.
3/2 R equal 180. Now what's the next step? Now it's a pure algebra problem. How do I solve this for R?
You could multiply 2 to both sides to get rid of the
That's a good
half.
step. Okay, so 3R equals 360. Now how do I get R?
Divide 3 divided by 360.
So R equals 120. What's A equal to?
60.
Yeah, and you can solve for A either right there because A equals 1/2 R, so it's got to be 60. Or you could go to this equation where R plus A is equal to 180. But either one solves for both angles. And there's your answer.
Okay.
Okay. But another one. Do you have another one?
Mm, and two angles form a linear pair. The measure of one angle is 14 times the measure of the other angle. Find the measure of each angle.
What was the very first sentence?
Two angles form a linear pair.
Okay, so there's our straight line. There's our linear pair. We're going to call one angle X, the other angle Y. We'll make the smaller angle X. And what's the other thing? Y is 14 times X?
Yeah.
So I can either write Y there, but the more straightforward way to do it, if I'm looking to pick up speed, I'm not going to write Y, I'm going to write 14X. Now, what's the equation you can write to solve for X?
180 equals 14x plus x.
Which is?
15x.
So 15x equals 180, x equals 12. If this angle is 12 degrees, what's this angle?
168.
Yeah. And there you go. And that's probably the fastest way to do that problem.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes you can set it up as two equations and two unknowns and go through the process that you know how to use. You must know how to solve that, otherwise you wouldn't be in honors geometry.
Yeah.
But usually a lot of times you'll notice that I was able to just use one variable. In other words, I could use x equals the small angle, and y was 14 times bigger than the small angle, so rather than even write y, I write 14x. And then I only have one variable and one equation. So I have 14x plus 1x equals 180, and I can solve it almost instantly. As opposed to having two equations, my second equation normally would be x plus y equals 180. And then I could use substitution or elimination to solve for that. But if I solve for it, I'm going to end up with the same result, x equals 12. But a lot of times on problems like this, it's easier to solve it in one variable than it is in two. Once you make a second variable y, then you generally have to deal with two equations instead of one. But the moment I make my second variable, instead of y, I make it 14x because I know that equation is true. So now I have x and 14x. And I know that 14x plus x has to equal 180. So it allows me to solve for it much quicker than if I left it in two variables. And there's no secret to turning a two-variable equation into a one-variable. It usually has to do in this step right here. Notice that I started out with two variables. X was the small angle and y was the big angle, and y was 14 times the small angle. But immediately I substituted it into my picture so that instead of x and y, I have x and 14x. And now it's a little faster to solve that way. All right, what else do you have, Allie?
The rest of them were just like stupid errors.
Okay. In other words, math errors. Usually when people say stupid errors, they mean they added and subtracted wrong.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a moment. I want to see how your math skills are. I'm sure they're pretty good, but let's just Let me go to a page that's really a cool page. I doubt that you're going to require it, but it's called A+ Math. And I'm interested in only doing the 1x1s. I want you to give me the answer as quick as you can to each of these. They use a little bit funny notation. That means multiplication. So what's 8 times minus 4?
Negative 32.
What's this one?
0.
Is that one?
Is that divide? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the funny notations, is that's their division. The
Okay.
frowny face combined with the horizontal line is division.
Okay. 7. 1. Negative 8. 9. 0.
Okay, you're awfully good on these, which I would have expected, which is, what's this?
Oh, 2.
All right, so we don't really need any practice there. Believe it or not, even in honors geometry, I'll find some students that won't be that good at this. They won't necessarily get 8 out of 8 quickly. And you need to be good at this. This is the basic foundation of math, is being able to do single digit by single digit calculations. So that's nice that you're good at that, and yet you apparently made some mistakes on your test that were nothing more than mistakes in single digit by single digit.
Yeah.
What's minus 7 minus 9?
That would be 2. Wait, no. That would be 16.
Negative 16.
Negative 16. Sorry.
Okay. Now, let me just say something about this. That's a negative sign.
Yeah.
That is a subtraction sign.
Yeah.
They're different. And that's why people find this problem confusing, is because those dashes don't really mean the same thing. Well, what I tell everybody to do is take your subtraction problems and turn them into addition problems. You do that by changing the subtraction sign to a plus and changing the sign of what was being subtracted. Now we're going to add it. Now if I said to you, what's minus 7 plus a minus 9, you'd be able to do that a lot quicker, I'll bet.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
In other words, it's easier as an addition problem than it is as a subtraction problem. And you could basically do that with every subtraction problem you have. And it can make it easier. Obviously, there are certain kinds of subtraction problems we don't need to do it with. We know that that's 2. And we know that if I'm subtracting a bigger number from a smaller number, it's got to be negative. So that's negative 2. So people don't necessarily have problems with all subtraction problems, but they seem to have problems the moment you throw in an extra number, an extra sign like that. That's when they have problems. Because now they're looking at 2 dashes. What's the result of that?
That would be negative 11.
Yeah. In other words, whenever you see 2 negative signs together, always think of it as being this. And then there's never any doubt, and there's never the potential for a mistake. Now, are there any of these mistakes that were not just arithmetic errors?
The ones that weren't like,
Let's do one. We got 10 minutes.
okay, given angle ADC equals 135, find BDC. And BDC was 11x plus 9, and ADB was 7x.
Hold it. Angle BDC is 11x plus 9?
Yeah.
And what's another?
ADB is equal to 7.
Okay. So I must have something that looks, there's 4 points here, an A, a B, a C, and a D. So I have some sort of a quadrilateral.
No, it was like an angle. It was like, 1 second. It was it was an angle with that was bisected by point B.
Okay. So it was something like this, apparently. No? Now, you know, this might be a good place to do the following, because you got to do it once before you're going to get comfortable with doing it. And that is, do you have a smartphone?
Yeah.
Can you take a picture of the page you're looking at right now?
Yeah.
Do it really quick, and I'll give you an email address to send it to. Don't send it to my phone, send it to my email address, because that goes straight to my computer, and then I can bring it up so that we're looking at it. Midge had to do this a lot, so you won't have it in your cell phone yet because you haven't done it yet, but after you take a picture of it, you know how to share that picture to an email? Okay, go ahead and send it to that email. And that'll be the last time you have to type out the full email. In other words, the next time you go to send a picture, type the first 2 letters, and this will come up as the default.
Okay.
Let me know when you've sent it.
Okay.
Okay.
1 second. I didn't put a subject, but
You don't need a subject. It might warn you that you don't have a subject in there, but just ignore it and say send anyway.
okay.
This is the only part really different from online tutoring as opposed to in-person tutoring. And that is you sending me a picture of the problem. Okay? Now, I can blow this up a little bit. Which problem are we looking at?
13.
I see a 14. I don't see a 13. Oh,
That's the one, right?
hold on. Oh, now I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Given, okay, now I see the picture also. So you can see that that's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So I can redraw the picture. And label it. And they've said ADC, this angle there, is 135. And the measurement of BDC they want. And they also tell us that that's 7x, and that's 11x plus 9. So how are we going to solve? In other words, the angle BDC is 11x plus 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also, we got to solve for x. So give me an equation that will allow me to solve for x.
7x plus 11x plus 9.
Equals,
135.
okay, solve that for x. Next line.
You add 7x plus 11x.
18x, subtract 9 from both sides, you get 126.
And then divide 18 by 126.
That's got to be 6. No. What is that? What's 126 divided by 18? I thought that would be a whole number. Maybe it's not. I have my calculator here. 7. It is a whole number.
Yeah.
Whenever we have a session, you should have your calculator in front of you. Speaking of that, what kind do you have? Do you have the TI-84, the Inspire?
I have the Inspire.
The Inspire. Okay. So they're forcing everybody, even ninth graders at Chatfield, to get an Inspire.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we never use it.
Well, it's a pretty big learning curve to go from the older calculator, which is the TI-84, to the Inspire. Trust me, the Inspire is an excellent machine. I mean, you'll love it once you learn it. But you have to learn it. And it's going to take a while for you to learn it. So now, what's the angle BDC, the one that they're asking about? If x is 7.
Well, if you plug 7 back into 11, x plus 9, then it would come out to be the answer.
77 plus 9, which is 86. So 86 degrees is the measurement of the angle BDC. And it's always worthwhile to look at it and to make sure that, yeah, does that look like an 86-degree angle? Yes, it does. It's slightly short of being a right angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it fits our picture. In other words, if this was an obtuse angle, that answer would not make any sense. So yeah, we're definitely looking for an angle that's less than 90 degrees, but close to 90 degrees. And 86 matches what we're looking at here. And they didn't ask about this angle, so we don't even care about that. They ask only about BDC. This is Hansack's remarks?
Yes.
Let me see what he says. Bad algebra again. Come in to help with algebra.
Yeah.
He doesn't pull any punches, does he?
No. Well, because I subtracted it because on the test before that we had to both of the problems would be on opposite sides.
Yeah.
And so you would have to subtract x, and so I was just in that mindset of doing subtracting.
Okay. All right. So. Well, if you have any problems with algebra, we'll probably discover them, and we'll need to address that. In other words, you can't really succeed at geometry until you know how to do the algebra. Because most every single geometry problem comes down to setting up an equation and then solving it. In other words, algebra is at least 50% of geometry, because the geometry part allows you to set the equation up, but the algebra part is what allows you to solve for x. So you definitely need your algebra skills, and we can do a little bit of work on that. As you accumulate more quizzes and review materials, it'll become a little bit more apparent to me where you need help or where you need to work on, and we can look at that area. Okay. All right. Well, it's 4:31. So if you don't have any further questions, I will let you go. Now, let's see. Let me get an email address for you because all of these sessions are recorded. And what I do is I send you a link to watch the recording. And that can be helpful, especially if you're dealing with material like you're going to be over the next week or two that's new material. In other words, proofs and logical reasoning are definitely going to be a little different for you. What's your email, Allie?
You can send it to my school email, which is 1067516 at jeffcoschools.us.
Jeffco Schools with an S at the end, .us.
Yeah. Or you can send it to the email that I sent the picture to you.
Ah, that's right. I forgot. You did send one. So I have that. That probably will be the one I use just because I won't have to type it all out.
Yeah.
But sometimes it'll take me an evening to process, for my computer to process these problems. So I can't always guarantee having the recording done until the following morning. That can be a little problematic because by the time I have it done, you're off to school. So if you had a test tomorrow, you'd probably want to schedule your tutoring session not for the evening before your test, but for maybe 2 evenings before your test, so that you'll have a chance to review the session before your test.
Okay.
Now, this particular session, because it's only 4:30, I can probably, I don't know if I can get it up this evening or not, but if I do, I'll send you the link to it, and then you can see how this works.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, Allie, as far as going forward, let's see, your mom wanted you to do regular. Is this a good time, 4 o'clock on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Is this your best time? Because I could also do 3:30, 4, or 4:30, or 3. She said,
Four's fine.
okay, 4 o'clock's fine?
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave it here. I'll make this your regular time, and I will talk to you next Wednesday at 4. Now, the next time I talk to you is all I will do is text you the meeting ID number. I will not
Okay.
call you on the phone. I'll just
Okay.
text it. And you know how, once you get the meeting ID number, you know how to load up GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Allie, talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.